Do we have anybody who's willing to be a designated note taker for this meeting?
I can do it. If no
Awesome.
one else wants to.
Thank you very much, Ken. Do we have any new faces or anyone who would like to introduce themselves? No pressure, but cool. All fine by me. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we can get into the first outstanding item, which is outstanding project level RFCs. Can you all see my screen? Perfect. Let's open this up. It appears that there is only one RFC in the top level open right now. And this is adds emeritus status RFC. Is there anything that you need from this, Brian?
Just a check mark from Emily. So I'll ping her and see if we can get this pushed through.
Cool. Sounds good. Anyone have any questions about this? Cool. Then I think that puts us, I think that means that we are done with the project level RFCs. Go ahead and take a look at language specific RFCs, see if there are any there. None there. Is there anything that anyone wanted to raise for a language specific issue that they would like to discuss in a larger group setting? Okay. That is that's fine. And I guess we can move on to the final standing item, which is Adam Barkin. Is that how you say your last name?
Yes, that's good.
Perfect. Talking about history of Buildpacks and Greenhouse plus Q&A time. I'm very excited to get into that. Do you want me to stop sharing my screen and we can just talk?
Yeah,
anything like that?
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I have a very small deck, so it'd be helpful.
Oh, perfect. There you go.
Thank you. All right, let's give this a go. Can you all see this? Cool. Can you all see my screen? Yep. All right, cool. Hey, so yeah, thanks for having me give this talk. Just a little context. You've probably seen me like pop in and out of the working group meeting a little bit over the past month. And the context there is basically we were doing some work on upstream packs at Greenhouse, and your team was super helpful when I got in touch with a support question, which led to some back and forth, an upstream PR, and really just like, again, getting a lot of help from y'all to help us get the a Node.js upstream pack working at Greenhouse. So that led to just some basic questions and stuff about how we do build packs at Greenhouse. So here's just a little bit of a short overview. So cool. So I'm on this team TOPS, which is tools and operations at Greenhouse. It's a small DevOps team. There's a couple of my colleagues who are joining today to support or maybe heckle me. We'll see how it goes. But like, so basically at Greenhouse, we have 40 apps approximately in the dev space, of which around 25 are in the prod space. This is in our main US East 1 region. And so I just did some basic metrics over the past year. And it looks like in that space, we have around 30 successful builds a day. The top apps, so like Greenhouse, as you probably know, is a recruiting and onboarding platform. So it's not surprising that the top builds over that time are the two flagship products. Greenhouse is Greenhouse Recruiting, and then onboarding is our second flagship product. Most of these are Ruby apps, but a couple of these are also Node.js or Golang apps. And as we'll see in a minute, we also support a couple other languages, Python, Elixir, and something else I'm not remembering, but I think it's like 6 major languages in total. And feel free to stop me anytime with questions. So just a real short timeline of how we even got to this point. So we started on Heroku. It's a little before my time on DevOps, but it's the first couple of years of our existence. So, we were just using whatever, they're off the shelf Buildpacks. Roughly like 5 years ago, we switched to our internal platform as a service called the Joku, which is basically our internal wrapper around AWS with a whole bunch of commands that product engineers can run, to build and deploy code. So we were doing this without Buildpacks. We were doing it really with Docker files. You can imagine that was pretty painful to maintain for every one of these apps. Obviously, we had some abstractions and conveniences, such as a common base image, but that was really only good for our Ruby-based apps. And as we started to expand to data science and other, microservices that, used whatever language made the most sense, this became pretty painful to support. So around 2018, a project called the Buildpacks was born. That's something I have spent a lot of time on in the past year. So this is kind of where we are now, which is a whole bunch of custom build packs that we wrote, more along the Cloud Foundry model than the Heroku model. So they each have an individual build and detect script. But we had plenty of sensible goals here, supporting multiple languages, reducing code duplication, speeding up builds, shrinking image sizes. Funny enough, a lot of these are still our goals, even though we're in a much better place than we were. But this is all kind of at a high level, the stuff I'm still working on. So architecture at a real high level, I'd say there's 3 main microservices here. There is a repo called the Buildpacks, which has custom builder, custom stack, and then a whole collection of individual build packs, which we'll see in a second. A recent project was called the Joku Build Controller. This used to be just like a long-running synchronous build server called Git Receive. This is now a lot better. It runs on Kubernetes. It basically listens for Git pushes. It has a whole bunch of custom Kubernetes resources, builds and images and such, and it's all running on Argo. So it's great for us, and since we gain all of the logging and other retries and that kind of stuff that comes with Argo and Kubernetes. And then we have a separate Joku Metrics app. It's just really an endpoint that our build controller is pushing to. We can, where we can track over time metrics such as build success or failure, image sizes, cache sizes, that kind of stuff. Cool. So this is the directory tree of our build packs, which I thought might be of interest. So you can see there's a mix here of meta packs by language, as well as a lot of small single purpose packs. And you can see the major languages covered here, right? So we have Elixir, Golang, Python, Ruby. You'll notice Node is not here. It used to be, but that's the one that's been replaced by the upstream pack. Cool. All right, stuff I've been working on. Again, I took over sort of being the point person on our team for Buildpacks about a year ago. Pack lifecycle upgrades. A huge win was refactoring to use the creator in the pack lifecycle over the individual creator steps, which gained us a lot of build efficiency. A lot of just kind of leaky bucket, like build sizes and Webpack cache sizes over time. And then some bugs around cache invalidation during concurrent builds that were recently pretty thorny, and then much better reporting. These are kind of the high level things I've been working on over the past year. I got a question in your Slack about our Elixir build pack, since I think Paketo does not have one. This is just at a high level what it does. So it seems like pretty straightforward stuff that probably would not be hard to port to upstream. But you can see we're just detecting Erlang and Elixir versions, as well as the basic mix metadata. And then in our build step, we're just, and this is pretty similar to the stuff we do in our other custom packs, either just installing or using cached versions of these things. So Erlang, Elixir, and mixed dependencies. This is a sample build plan from our integration test over this build pack. Okay, and so kind of how I met y'all, the upstream node pack. This is our first upstream pack. It's been a huge win for us, I think. One, it was just an awesome experience for me, and it got me really excited to hopefully be able to do more upstream packs. It was my first open source contribution, which was pretty cool. It's already helped us, when I looked at our backlog of Buildpacks cards, helped us move at least 2 to that great place known as won't fix, because this just took care of it for us. Basically, I was able to just use it, and you can see we have a whole bunch in our custom builder toml. We have a whole bunch of stuff that looks like this, and although there was some work to get here, you can see like it was pretty much as simple to plug in as this, whereas in the past this would have been a link to our custom build pack. You can see we're running some default kind of prep and cleanup stuff, and that all just works with this. And then one thing you'll notice is I added this custom yarn build downstream build pack. So I guess the 2 things that I had to kind of tweak to make this work for us was one, support for consuming a .node version file, and that was my upstream contribution. And then on our end, we needed one of our Node.js apps is built through a yarn build script, and for a couple of reasons, I try to work around that. I think I actually found in an issue that you had brought up through a prior issue. I ended up having to do a small single-purpose yarn build script, yarn build pack rather, and that works great. And so this is all working great for us. Where are we heading? We met our quarterly goal of cutting recruiting and onboarding build times by 50%. So that was mainly due to the creator binary over the individual lifecycle binaries, and some improvements in the way in cutting our image sizes and our improved caching. I would love to do more upstream packs. I wrote an RFC for this. Ruby would be a huge win because it's by far our most complex. One, and I can kind of starting to see how we would construct this. One like kind of, I don't know, like one special custom case that we have is we actually have 2 gem files, or we have support for a secondary gem file that app developers use during things that, like major upgrades, like a Rails upgrade. So that's something that I would have to consider, but I think it could definitely be done through composition. And then I'd like to do more work to make our upstream packs a real first-class citizen. That includes vendorizing them and having better integration tests over them. Cool, thank you. And any questions?
When you're going through stuff, you're talking about reporting. I wonder if you could expand on what you meant by reporting a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. So one of our microservices in this ecosystem is called the Joku metrics. And so from the point of view of the apps that consume them, which are the Joku packs and the Joku build controller, there's different steps, during the life cycle of the build, when they're just spitting out metrics to them. Did a certain step succeed or fail? And ultimately, what is the size of the build, including the cache image size? Right now, we're consuming them just through a commercial business intelligence product mode. We could definitely do other stuff with them, but it just gets spit out into a SQL database.
You mentioned that you're using, I mean, obviously you're using some CNB platform. Is it a platform that y'all have built internally, or is it based on something like a Kpacker pack in the background?
It's ultimately pack lifecycle in the background. So we definitely build stuff on top of it, but that's what it's ultimately hitting. Cool.
So you had
go on.
when you listed out the build packs that Greenhouse has currently, you have a bunch that we do have or are working on having coverage for upstream. Yep. I guess, is the goal ultimately to try to use more upstream build packs and figure out if there are ways to have us include features that maybe we're missing to make that possible? Or do you just have like a huge number of customizations? I guess I want to ask about like future plans in those directions.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I would love to work together more on that. Like I made this RFC. getting it prioritized and kind of like doing the work is another story, I guess. But like, I think the one I've dug the most into and spent the most time on is our Ruby build pack. There's definitely customizations there, such as the one that I mentioned, and probably others that would probably differ from an upstream pack. But I bet you, like, there's still so much in common. Like already, because it's a Rails app. Like, first of all, I could probably rip out half of it and just replace it with the upstream node pack, maybe with the small yarn build. I don't even think we do yarn build in a Rails app. So I bet you it would almost work as is. And that's already like half the battle right there. So I bet you ultimately, like, and I think like for Golang, Juan is here, who's pretty knowledgeable of this stuff. If he had, maybe he might know even better. But like, my take is that our Golang apps probably like would work pretty well with an upstream Golang build pack. I think our Golang apps are like a lot more straightforward. And I have to dig a little more into other ones, but my hunch is that like a lot of them, it's more straightforward than not, and like the customizations I'm sure would be pretty manageable. And like the process here I thought worked really well because like the node version we brought up to you and you were real quick to say like, hey, this would be helpful, so we did it. The yarn build, I guess I could have brought up, like, I know I saw some discussion about it, but I think I had seen like, maybe you can say better, like I thought I had seen some discussion that's like there's an RFC for it, right? Is that right?
I think Arjun can speak to this.
Yes, there's an RFC to do to like help people do things that they can do right after they do the install step. Is that something that you were trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, yes, definitely.
Yeah, a follow-up question I had was like, you could have done that by including that yarn built in like a post-install hook of the
Yep.
package JSON. And I'm just wondering the reason why you didn't do it. Is it because your build pipeline does not really have access? You don't want it to be like changing the source code? Is that the reason you did it?
No, I'm trying to remember because I totally came across that. Like there were some issues in discussion somewhere in your Node.js Buildpack ecosystem around this very subject. And I tried the yarn post install. I'd have to look, there's a whole discussion about it, but like, there's a reason why it didn't work. Oh, I think it didn't work because I don't want to like say the wrong thing. I remember I thought it worked. I think it only worked when we didn't use the build cache. Yeah, I think it only worked when we specifically passed in a flag telling app developers not to use the build cache, and it did not work with the build cache. I think that is what happened. I think it's because then we were using like, we probably were never getting to that point. I think that's the reason. So it ended up not being able to use it. Yeah.
If I could ask a very, very, very high level question, kind of along the lines of what Ryan was asking, but when you were making the decision, hey, we need to use build packs, what was the why for not using a build pack that existed for that language? Was it that you originally tried and couldn't, and then kind of went off, built your own, or was there another reason kind of behind that why?
I'm gonna say like, so the person who really did that work is on vacation, but I did talk to him a little about it. I think the reason really is like, honestly, like something as standardized as Paketo did not exist at the time. And like my understanding is like there were more of the divergent like Heroku versus Cloud Foundry standards, right? For Buildpacks API, and like it's great that now they've kind of, they seem to be converging, and there is stuff like this. But I think at the time, like I talked to the developer, his name is Dana, and he was like, like he knew of the standard, which is why like he followed the build detect pattern, and like that's probably why it was so easy to ultimately plug in the Paketo Node.js build pack. But like, I don't think he thought he had like a great standardized like upstream option that he wanted to commit to. I think that's the reason.
Awesome.
That definitely is the reason. We were pretty bleeding edge, and there was nothing available upstream or over the field. Awesome.
Super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
So among the custom build packs that y'all are working on, there are a couple that install dependencies that, as far as I know, are not like hosted by Paketo, like for example, Elixir and the related like Erlang, I guess, and related dependencies there. What is your approach right now to like building those dependencies and making them available to your build pack builds?
I mean, maybe if I understand the question correctly, like it's just done in the build step. No, like it's every build step has checks for, like using a checksum, like are there cache dependencies we can use? And if not, like it just runs the install. Is that what you're asking?
Slightly different question, I guess. So like, for example, the Paketo like Node Engine build pack installs Node itself, like the dependency
I
that
see,
is
like
Node,
Buildpack.
and that's
I see.
installed, like that's like served by, there's like an endpoint that you can hit and get the tarball for that. So like, how are you all building the dependencies that are not being provided by Paketo?
Right. I would have to check, but I assume doing same. Yeah, I mean, all of them, like ultimately, like if the things are not available, are installing them on the spot. So I assume it's doing something very similar. I can confirm.
I have a quick question. I'm sorry, I had to step out for just a second. So if this has already been asked, you can just tell me and I'll get it from someone else. How non-optimal of a solution is it if you have a situation like you do with Node.js right now, where the majority of your build pack or build pack logic is coming from an upstream build pack like Node.js, but you needed to write a supplementary build pack such as Yarn build?
Right.
How bad is that for you in terms of, I guess, maintenance?
I think that one is not bad. I'm sure it could depend case by case, but like I said, like I already identified 2 cards in our epic that we just threw away because of the Node.js upstream pack. Like I think if Yarn build is like the most complexity that you have to write yourself, like that's, I think, a pretty, it's pretty good. So I'm sure that could vary, but like in this case, I think it, seems pretty clear that it's worth it.
Okay, so you're not inherently opposed to the idea of having sort of those stop gaps or linking sort of build packs, I guess depending on the use case, which that throws the whole wrench into the whole idea.
Yeah.
But no, that's good to hear. I guess what I was trying to gauge is how comfortable you were with something Yarn build. So that's good to hear.
I mean, yeah, I guess ideally there, I probably could have talked more about the RFC that you have existing. And like probably the ideal in all those cases is to see if there's an upstream use case such that, we could just contribute upstream. I guess in that case, I was just sort of like anxious to get it done. Like, and it was like sort of the last blocker. But that's probably the best solution, I guess. And in the future, I'll try and stuff like that. I'll try and bring up to you first to see if it at least makes sense to try and, contribute upstream.
I think it's a perfectly valid solution. I just, I was just curious about how restrictive that was for you, but it sounds,
cool.
I think you gave me a sufficient answer.
Cool. Any more questions?
Oh, I did have one actually. I think you said that you have build packs that are written in Go and some that are written in Bash. Is that true? Yeah.
That is true. Yes.
Cool. What's your, I guess, process for like when you're writing a new one? Are you starting in Bash and then moving towards Go, or is it like earlier ones were Bash, later ones Go? How's that working?
Yeah, I could see Juan smiling here. He probably has some strong thoughts here. But yeah, earlier ones are in Bash, newer ones are in Go. That applies to a lot of our DevOps code in general. We're definitely trying to move to Go, and anything new will almost always be written in Go unless there's a good reason. But yeah, a lot of our older stuff is written in Bash or Ruby scripting. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
For the build packs that you do have written in Go, do you use like a library? There's like libcnb and Paketo has like Packet. Do you have your own custom thing?
I just went through this for the pack build. I use Packet, which I really liked. I noticed we also use libcnb and there's some custom helpers and stuff, but I noticed, like, at least for my use case, yeah, Packet was nice. libcnb also seems perfectly solid. So yeah, we're using them. Any more questions?
Thanks for the background. It was really helpful to see, what some folks who are using Buildpacks have done. And y'all are kind of like power users in that you're like, you're not only using them, you're actually creating Buildpacks. You've probably been running Buildpacks in production longer than, I don't know, almost anyone probably on this call. So we'd love to get some more feedback from y'all. Like, feel free to open issues and write RFCs. We are looking for feedback from folks who are using stuff in production, just to get like some more insight into, what are weird edge cases about particular language ecosystems when you get, big production apps running on top of them. So yeah, anything you can offer on that space ongoing, like we'd love to hear it.
Awesome, that sounds great. Yeah, I'd love to do that. So would love to keep doing these upstream packs. Cool. Awesome, I will stop sharing.
All right. If there are no other questions, I believe that was the only item on our agenda. So unless someone has another item that they would like to bring up, I'll give you all 30 minutes of your day back.
Awesome.
All right. See you.
Cool. All right.
Thanks so
thank you.
much for this, Adam.
Yeah, thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you so much. Take care.